Alright guys, Touch Group here again today, and a change of scenery because I'm back at home for the Easter holidays. Going to be a good time, of course, culminating in May 3rd through 5th with just CWL London, so looking very much forward to that, especially because of this most recent announcement. FaZe Clan have confirmed their roster for that event, and well, going forward to the second little bit of the Pro League before the next roster change period, all the way in the middle of June. I think it's June 17th to the 20th, something like that, so a very short roster change period, but of course we will get to that when the time comes. FaZe Clan, this is the team: Zuma, Celium, Asim, maybe, Scraps, and Zero. So we've known this for a while, but it's time to talk through the roster today because it's very interesting, and I'm not exactly sure what to think so far, so I'm sure you guys will have your opinions in the comment section below. So like if you guys enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. And let's get right into the video here. So, yeah, I think this is maybe a controversial team in terms of, like, how people think it's going to do. Because I see a lot of people thinking this team's going to be spectacular. It could well be. I'm more on the fence. I'm not 100% sure so far. So, let's have a look through some things, have a look through some stats, how this team should shape up over time. So yeah, these are some tweets from the players when they get to join on. So Scrap says, a dream come true. I've joined FaZe Clan, never thought I'd get this far, and I'm just rolling with it. Hashtag FaZe up. So really cool for Scraps that he's, you know, his career has not spanned very long. Back in Black Ops 3, he was teaming with, you know, his name really started to come around maybe late Black Ops 3, start of Infinite Warfare on that Fnatic team, of course. Maybe even Wuskin probably had a quicker come up than Scraps did in that season. And then, of course, we go into World War II, comes really close to winning a couple championships. On Red Reserve towards the end of the year, the start of the year, of course, he was on that Nieuwland squad, still with his brother. Then he's on Red Reserve here at the start of Black Ops 4, and now he's on FaZe. It's been a crazy trajectory he has taken. Similar thing to Zero, really, even though Zero's been around a little bit longer, was known as a very good player all the way back in Black Ops 3. But what's interesting here is that I have heard that Scraps and Zero did have offers from Envy. They could have gone onto that team with Hook and Silly. So it's interesting because some people would argue that they've gone onto FaZe because of the clout or whatever. I don't know if these guys are particular clout chasers or whatever you could say, but I'm sure you guys will have your own opinions on that because, yeah, you know, a dream come true. I'm guessing, you know, the kind of notoriety, the kind of fame that Scraps is going to get, and from the fans especially, like his personal brand is going to explode on FaZe, I would imagine. You know, probably more so than he would have done on Envy. So maybe that's a consideration that he took into account, because I can imagine that him and Zero on that Envy squad would have been at least as good as this team, I would have presumed. But maybe they think differently, maybe they think this team is very nasty indeed. It could well be. So yeah, another tweet here we have from Zero, says, rolling with young gods, Celium and Asim, two players that I've played with for 4 days. Talent is unmatched. A lot of doubters, but hoping to prove everyone wrong. Run it up, fellas. We have the following from Celium here. Despite all of the obstacles, feels good to finally be in this position. Excited to get to work with the team. Then we have this from Zuma, of course. Thanks for all the love on the announcement. Really excited about this team. We've been playing great, and we're all super excited to play. Gonna work extremely hard for all of you. Thanks for sticking by our side through thick and thin. We all appreciate it. Hashtag FaZe up, baby. And then we have the following. So they do indeed have this coach still in RJ. Don't know too much about this guy RJ, but you know, show some love to RJ. He's going to be our coach and is super important to our team, because one of the things that does jump out of the paper of this team is the fact that they don't really have a clear leader. They don't have a guy like in the past on, you know, you've had guys like Enable on FaZe, guys of course like Clayster, Legendary, and even Replays earlier in the series or earlier in the season. Now known as Crowder with that PLQ roster where they didn't quite manage to qualify with him on the team. Now they don't have that clear player. So I think the coach is probably going to play quite an important role here, given the team is so young. And I don't really think that Zuma, Scraps and Zero, even though these guys are a little bit older than Celium and Asim, I don't really think these guys have crazy leadership capabilities. Maybe they think that's not necessary in this game, which is what's very interesting here, because you've got FaZe going down this route of just pure talent, and then you've got Envy who have decided to keep hold of Aches as their main assault rifle here, and keep that kind of veteran leadership on the team. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it goes down the line. Of course, FaZe do have a very difficult pool. They are up against Envy in their pool at CWL London, and they also have United up there, which is obviously a very strong team, and Evil Geniuses, who probably may well improve on whatever roster they're going to announce in the coming days. We will talk about that. So of course, we're going to have this Attach versus FaZe situation because it was rumoured for a fair while that Attach may have been back on this team instead of Asim. Then supposedly he decided to go back onto Evil Geniuses. So, you know, we're going to have that matchup. We're going to have FaZe versus Clayster, which is exciting. We're going to have FaZe versus Envy. As I say, that's kind of a battle of, well, Scraps and Zero could have gone on to Envy from what I hear. Can't ratify that completely, but apparently that was possible. And we had this situation with, you know, Scraps didn't want to go to Envy because of Decimate and the Kieran, oh my god, love thing. We talked about that the other day. So we're going to have that rivalry in the group. It's going to be very exciting at CWL London. No questions asked. So let's go through some statistics here just to put some things into context from way back at the Pro League qualifier. You guys may remember Scraps probably had the best event of his career at the Pro League qualifier. The only reason why I'm using this event is just because all these 5 players actually played at that event, which is difficult to find for a lot of other ones. So yeah, Scraps had a 1.39, absolutely ridiculous. This is courtesy of codstats.gg. I'll leave this linked down below. Selling at a 1.12. This is KD. This is AKD. Adjusted KD. Effectively what it does, if you guys aren't fully aware, it multiplies up your KDs effectively in the game modes that aren't hardpoint, so that each kill has the same validity as a hardpoint kill does. Because in Search and Destroy, you can go 12 in 1, but that won't come up as a ridiculous standing because you're only plus 11, where you can go plus 11 in a hardpoint, and, you know, it doesn't seem quite as ridiculous, you could say. So Adjusted KD adjusts for that. I think, in my personal opinion, it may be overcompensating a little bit, so I kind of prefer traditional KD a little bit. So yeah, effectively, if you have a higher AKD than a KD, then you're a really good search player. That tends to be how it works. But yeah, Selim at a 1.12 KD, Zero at a 1.05. Then Zoomer actually had a very good event here at a 1.05 himself, considering, you know, overall this season, Zoomer hasn't been particularly good, I guess you could say. And that is one of the question marks, I think, on this team. There's a lot of question marks right now. And yeah, Zoomer maybe is one of them. He's been spectacular in some points in the past. He's been a very good player for a long period of time. Definitely a big name. But, you know, whether he's going to get back to that early World War II or that Advanced Warfare form later in the season is difficult to say. He wasn't great when he went on to Optic Gaming, of course, but that was a very difficult situation he was put himself in with Dashi Dashi not being able to make it. So yeah, we'll have to see. Obviously, he does well at the Pro League qualifier, but not the best competition. And Asim has a 0.92 on his FaZe Clan Black team at that event. But, you know, whenever I watch Asim, he may not always be positive, but he definitely seems to impress me in terms of gun skill, in terms of his gun skill and his overall talent. So I definitely think there's a crazy amount of potential on this roster right now. Scraps and Zero, we know how good these guys are. Zero hasn't been quite as good in this game, but he's going to be on the ICR right here. Supposedly, I did hear someone say that maybe Selim could be on the ICR, but I don't think that's a good idea at all. I think you keep Zero on the ICR because he's spectacular with it back in Infinite Warfare. You get Selim and Scraps on your Maddoxes. That's an absolutely filthy duo of Maddoxes because, yeah, Selim hasn't lit the world on fire quite as yet. But you remember when Dashi came back in, Infinite Warfare Champs, people thought, wow, this guy's talented, but he wasn't putting up ridiculous numbers like he was towards the end of World War II and the start of this game, of course. So probably a similar progression maybe for Selim here because he's been doing well, he's had highlight moments, but, he hasn't been consistently spectacular, even though he's been very solid. So him and Scraps, a bit more practice, a bit more time to play with these guys. Of course, they all speak English, but you could argue there's a bit of a language barrier going on. A lot of people say that with, Scraps is from Manchester, so his accent may be a little bit difficult to understand for some of these guys, but I'm sure they'll figure it out long term. And then I guess you have a Seam and Zoomer on your SMGs. So in terms of talent, it does seem pretty nasty. I'm not sure that SMG duo is as good as some that we have. Zoomer and Asim, not exactly I don't know. They're very talented players. I don't think you're not expecting 1.1s out of those guys, if you know what I mean. Whereas Selim and Scraps and Zero probably going to be putting up big numbers. So it's an interesting team. It's a difficult one to call, I think, for me right now. I'd really be interested to hear your thoughts on it because they don't have a clear leadership here. And it doesn't strike off the paper to me as these guys are going to be immediately good. I feel like this is a team that maybe needs some time for Selim and Asim to come into their zones a little bit more. I think they rely a lot on Zoomer in that SMG role to be very confidently, very competent indeed, because you really do need great SMG players in this game to make the room, because, yeah, Maddoxes are very good up close as well, but if you don't have the SMGs winning the initial gunfights, you can have a very hard time if you're a guy like Scraps, a guy like Selim. So, and Zero, how as good as he is, on the ICR, you could say his talents are being limited to some degree because the ICR is the least impactful role. So it's interesting. I think it does rely a lot on that SMG duo. Asim has definitely impressed me. Zuma has not impressed me so much in this title, even though they probably have similar stats overall, just because I'm thinking Zuma, you know, comparing him to how he was early last year back in Advanced Warfare, those kind of days. So it's a very interesting squad. They don't have clear leadership, as I said, which may be an issue in the short term. Long term, they may be able to figure it out. But yeah, I'll be interested to hear what you guys think. They've got a very tough pool at CWL London. So let's go through a couple more bits of news before we end the video. So we have Enigma 6 announcing their roster as well, if this ever wants to load. I think I may cover this in a separate video as well. So their team is going to be General, of course, Kismet, Frosty stays on the team, Jet Li, and God RX. So it's nice for Jet Li to get on a squad. I did think I heard this, but I couldn't quite remember it for yesterday's video. And God RX gets a chance as well. He was Evil Genius's substitute. They never decided to give him a go onto the actual team. I may make a video going over this in more depth if nothing much happens tonight. So yeah, I won't go through it in too much detail, but I thought I'd at least point it out for you guys. Then we have this from the Australian scene, which is really a horrible situation here. Let's go through this. Grind the whole time post Dallas, getting told we're going to London. Flights get booked, hotel gets booked, and yesterday we're told that all our flights have been cancelled. No opportunity to sort something out, talk other possibilities. Just straight cancelled. I think they're on a team called like Vertex or something like that. Nothing I want to do more than compete. It's this is the type of thing that's happening in APAC a lot right now. And yeah, as I said the other day when I talked about the amateur scene, I said how the current system is really killing it in APAC and Europe. This isn't necessarily to do with that, but when you've got players as well known as Zephyr, I guess, from that region, can't even go to London because of issues with amateur squads. Yeah, it's really not a great situation, and Nimble says the same thing. If this ever wants to load for me, here we go. Obviously a long shot, but if any organisation is looking for a team for London future CWL events, please get in touch with me. So, yeah, really horrible situation. We also have this from Dominate, who is Red Reserve's former coach. Come on, Sunshine, here we go. Sad times, no longer coaching any of the ex-Red players. No idea what's next for me, but gonna spend this some time focusing on myself. That being said, if any teams are looking to add analysts to help alongside their current staff, I'm more than willing to help and put the work in. So, I do find this interesting because, of course, the guys on Red Reserve, two of them have gone to this FaZe squad. And also one thing I didn't mention yet, if we end up getting a FaZe versus Denial match, that would be unbelievably spicy because you've got old Red Reserve, so, you know, rated Joe Bance on that Denial team alongside Alex and Brack that I talked about yesterday. And then you've got the other half of Red Reserve, Scraps and Zero, arguably the better half, even though it's not quite half, but we'll run with it. The smaller half will go onto this FaZe Clan team. So, yeah, it's interesting. And neither side wanted to, well, I guess it was the Red Reserve guys that went to Denial that maybe would have had the option to bring Dominate along with them. Either they think he hasn't been incredibly useful for them, or Denial said, we don't really have the money to fork out for a coach as well, for an analyst as well. So, yeah, we will have to see how it goes. This is unfortunate for Dominate. He's been around for a while. You guys may not even be aware he was Red Reserve's coach because he's not as big a name as some of the other coaches are, but a pretty memorable name in the European scene. I remember him competing at last year's CWL Birmingham, actually, which was quite a good time. I think he was on Shane's team or something like that. So, yeah, it was good fun. But, yeah, it's unfortunate for him. Maybe he'll get a spot towards the future. So yeah, just before the video ends, this is a brief history of Scraps and Zero's career together. So of course they go on to this Red Reserve team at Anaheim where they come second at their very first event together. And then, yeah, so Scraps and Zero have been in duo for a long time here, of course. That's what I did say about this Toronto event, that supposedly Silly was trying to play with Scraps to try and get him onto that Envy team. Didn't end up working out for him, if that was indeed his goal. And yeah, so Scraps and Zero are now going to be onto this team of, FaZe Clan alongside Zuma. And yeah, I mean, look how long Zuma's been on FaZe Clan here. Like, it's quite remarkable. He was on Envy all the way back in the day, but since Advanced Warfare, UMG California in 2015, he's been along FaZe Clan. So many different names, and he's basically the last survivor of this team with Attached going on to Evil Geniuses. He's still on loan, apparently, Attached, so yeah, we'll have to see. Maybe Attached didn't have faith in this new squad. And you can see this FaZe Clan Black team of the Toronto event. It's the same team, minus Gravity, minus Phantoms, plus Scraps, plus Zero. So, well, they came second to that year squad. So, arguably a very scary team right here. They've definitely looked very competent. Asim, Celium, Zuma seem like a good trio. Zuma's had some experience playing with these guys before, so, we'll have to see how it goes. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, as always, and I will see you next time.
Destroy the objective. Charge acquired. lost the bomb. You're our last asset. Complete the mission. One hostile remains. MTC is dry. Give it all you got. We got the bomb. You took this round, but we're not done yet.